how it all will end.
What if the world didn't end by accident, but was secretly planned hundreds of years before anyone living in the silo was even born? Yeah, that's the terrifying possibility heading straight for us in Silo Season 3. And if you thought the first two seasons were mysterious, Season 3 is about to flip the entire story upside down. Because now we're not just asking what's outside the silo, we're finally asking who built it and why. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. The release date is locked. First things first, when is it coming out? Season 3 of Silo officially premieres July 3rd, 2026 on Apple TV+. Just like the previous seasons, episodes will drop one per week every Friday, running all the way through September 4th for a total of 10 episodes. But here's something interesting. Seasons 3 and 4 were actually filmed back-to-back, meaning the creators already know exactly how this story ends. And Season 4 will adapt the final book in the trilogy, meaning Season 3 is basically the beginning of the end for the entire saga. But the real twist, Season 3 won't feel like the same show anymore. Season 3 will feel like a completely different show. If you've watched the first two seasons, you know the vibe of Silo: dark hallways, endless staircases, rusty metal walls, and thousands of people living underground with almost no idea what the outside world looks like. But Season 3 is about to break that formula. The creator of the show, Graham Yost, has already teased that we're finally going to see something that barely existed in the first two seasons: sunlight, green trees, open skies, the real world. And if that sounds strange for a show that has basically lived underground since episode 1, that's because Season 3 is doing something huge. It's going back in time. The story is moving to the second book. The series is based on the trilogy written by Hugh Howey. Book 1 is Wool, which mostly inspired Seasons 1 and 2, but Season 3 will finally adapt the second novel, Shift. And this book does something completely unexpected. Instead of continuing the story in the future, it jumps hundreds of years into the past. And that's where things start getting really interesting. Because Shift isn't really about Juliette at first. It's about how the silos were created in the first place. And once you understand the origin of the silos, the entire story of Silo suddenly becomes much darker. The before times will finally be revealed. For 2 seasons, the show has kept one massive mystery hidden. What actually happened to the world? Was it nuclear war, environmental collapse, or something even worse? Season 3 is finally going to start answering those questions. The new timeline takes place in what the show calls the before times. This is the world before the apocalypse, when cities still existed and people were living normal lives. And the main characters in this timeline are journalist Jessica Henwick's Helen Drew and Congressman Ashley Zuckerman's Daniel Keene. If you remember the Season 2 finale, you actually already saw them briefly. Helen was interviewing Keene about something terrifying: a dirty bomb attack that may have been carried out by Iran on American soil. What starts as a political investigation slowly uncovers something much bigger, a conspiracy that eventually leads to the construction of the silos themselves. The origin of the silo network. Here's where things get really crazy. In Shift, the silos weren't just random shelters built after the world collapsed. They were planned long before the disaster happened. Think about that for a second. Thousands of people living underground for centuries, because someone decided the surface world was going to end. That means the apocalypse might not have been an accident at all. It might have been engineered. And if the show follows the books closely, we're about to learn the disturbing truth about the silo network: dozens of massive underground cities designed to preserve humanity while the world above becomes toxic. But there's a twist. Not every silo has the same purpose. Some are meant to survive. Others are part of an experiment. But the show won't abandon Juliette. Now, if you've read Shift, you might know something strange. Juliette barely appears in that book. The story mainly focuses on the past. But the TV show clearly isn't doing that, because Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Juliette Nichols, is still confirmed as a major part of Season 3, which means the show will likely run 2 timelines at the same time. One timeline exploring the past, and another continuing the story inside Silo 18. So while we're learning how the world ended, we're also watching the consequences of that disaster hundreds of years later. And Juliette's situation is about to get complicated. Juliette survived, but there's a problem. At the end of Season 2, things got incredibly intense. Juliette and Bernard ended up trapped inside the thermal decontamination chamber in Silo 18, a chamber designed to incinerate anything inside it. Naturally, everyone assumed neither of them would survive, but Season 3 confirms something surprising. Juliette did survive. However, she didn't come out of that chamber the same. When she returns to Silo 18, she's suffering from memory loss, and that could be disastrous, because Juliette is the one person who knows the truth about the outside world, the multiple silos, and the hidden systems controlling them. But if she can't remember any of that, then Silo 18 could be in serious trouble. A new power struggle inside the silo, while Juliette struggles to recover her memories.
The political situation inside Silo 18 could completely explode. The rebellion at the end of Season 2 shattered the existing leadership structure, and someone else may take advantage of that chaos. Camille Sims. If she rises to power, she could undo everything the rebellion tried to accomplish. That means the Silo could return to the same system of secrecy and control that existed before. No questions, no truth, just obedience. Which means Juliette may eventually have to fight for control of the Silo again, assuming she can even remember what she's fighting for. One character is definitely gone. There's also one major absence this season. Tim Robbins, who played Bernard, is not listed in the Season 3 cast, which strongly suggests that Bernard really did die in the incinerator chamber, and if that's true, it removes one of the most complex characters in the entire series, because Bernard wasn't exactly a villain. He genuinely believed the Silo system was necessary to keep humanity alive. Without him, the power structure inside Silo 18 could collapse completely. But one fan favorite is returning. While one character might be gone, another fan favorite is returning, Solo, the mysterious survivor from Silo 17, played by Steve Zahn. Solo quickly became a memorable character because of his strange personality and childlike behavior. But beneath that awkward exterior, he may actually know more about the silos than almost anyone else. And if the story begins connecting different silos together, Solo could become one of the most important characters in the entire narrative. The story is building toward the final season. Season 3 isn't just another chapter in the story. It's setting up the final phase of the entire series, because Season 4 will adapt the final book in the trilogy, Dust. And that book brings everything together, the past timeline, the truth behind the silos, and the future of humanity itself. It will finally answer the biggest question the show has been building towards since the very first episode. Can humanity ever return to the surface, or is life underground the only future left? Why Season 3 might be the best one yet. If all of this sounds bigger than the first 2 seasons, that's because it is. Season 1 was about discovering the mystery. Season 2 expanded the world. Season 3 is about revealing the truth. We're finally going to see the real origin of the silos, the conspiracy behind the apocalypse, the political decisions that shaped the world, and the consequences of those decisions centuries later. And sometimes, the most terrifying part of a mystery isn't the unknown. It's discovering how intentional everything actually was, our nerdy thoughts. So when Silo Season 3 premieres on July 3rd, 2026 on Apple TV+, we won't just be getting another chapter of a sci-fi mystery. We'll finally be seeing the origin story of the entire world behind the silos, the moment everything went wrong, and the secrets humanity was never supposed to uncover. And honestly, if the show delivers on even half of what it's teasing, Season 3 could completely redefine the entire series. Now I'm curious, what do you think? Do you believe the apocalypse in Silo was planned? Or was the Silo Network truly humanity's last desperate attempt to survive? Let me know your theories in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives into shows like Silo, make sure to subscribe, because once Season 3 drops, there's going to be a lot to unpack.
Nah, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.